The truth about being lonely. A motivational speech for English learners. I want to talk to you about something real today. I want to talk about something that many people feel but few people say out loud. I want to talk about loneliness, not the small kind, not the kind you feel on a quiet Sunday afternoon. I want to talk about the deep kind, the heavy kind, the kind that sits on your chest when you wake up at 3 in the morning, the kind that makes you look at your phone and realize there is nobody to call, the kind that makes you feel invisible even when you are standing in a crowd of people. You have felt this, I know you have. Maybe you feel it right now. And I need you to know something important before we go any further together. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not less than anyone else. You are human. And loneliness is one of the most human experiences that exists on this planet. But here is the truth that most people never tell you. Loneliness is not your enemy. Loneliness is your teacher. And today, I am going to show you exactly what I mean by that. Let me tell you about a man named Hiroshi. He moved from Tokyo to a small city in Canada when he was 26 years old. He spoke some English, not perfect, but enough to get by. He found a small apartment. He found a job in a warehouse. He had everything he needed to survive. But every evening he came home to silence. He ate dinner alone. He watched television alone. He went to bed alone. He told me later that the silence felt like a living thing. It was like something was sitting in the room with him, watching him, pressing against him. He said he could feel the loneliness in his body, not just in his mind. It was physical. It was real. Hiroshi did not know anyone. He did not understand the jokes his coworkers made. He smiled and nodded, but inside he felt far away. He felt like he was watching everyone else's life through a window, like he was outside in the cold, looking in at people who were warm and laughing and connected. Have you ever felt that way? Like you are on the outside of something? Like everyone else got a map and you did not? That feeling has a name. Researchers call it social disconnection. But you do not need a scientific name for it. You know what it feels like in your body. You know that hollow space in your chest. You know the way a whole weekend can pass and you have not spoken a single meaningful word to another person. You know the way you can be surrounded by noise, the television, the traffic outside, the voices in another room, and still feel completely, utterly alone. Here is something that will surprise you. Loneliness is one of the most common human experiences in the world. A study in the United States found that more than half of all Americans reported feeling lonely. More than half. In the United Kingdom, the problem became so serious that the government created a minister for loneliness. A minister, a government position, just for loneliness. Think about that for a moment. This is not a small problem. This is not something that only you feel in your private moments. This is something that millions and millions of people feel every single day. So why does nobody talk about it? Why do you look at your friends' photos on social media and see only smiling faces? Why does everyone pretend that their life is full and bright and connected? Because loneliness carries shame, and shame is very good at hiding. People are afraid that if they say, "I am lonely," others will think they are pathetic. Others will think they are unlovable. Others will pull away. So they stay quiet. They perform happiness. They post the good photo and delete the sad one. They laugh at the party and cry in the car on the way home. You might be doing this right now. You might be performing a version of yourself that is less lonely than the real you. That takes enormous energy. And I want to give you permission to put that performance down, just for right now, just between us. You are lonely sometimes, maybe often, maybe all the time right now. That is okay. That is real. And real things can be worked with. Let me tell you about a different kind of loneliness. There is the loneliness of being physically alone. But there is also the loneliness of being misunderstood. You can be in a room full of people who love you and still feel profoundly alone. This happens when the people around you do not understand who you really are. Maybe you are an immigrant. Maybe you have moved to a new country. Maybe you speak a different language at home than you speak at work. Maybe you grew up in a different culture. You carry two worlds inside you, and sometimes it feels like you do not fully belong to either one. There is a word in Portuguese, saudade. It means a deep emotional longing for something or someone you love that is far away or may never return. There is no perfect translation in English. That is the point. Some feelings are so specific to a culture, a language, a people, that they cannot be fully translated. When you leave your home country, when you start learning a new language, You carry a kind of saudade, a longing for the version of yourself that could express everything perfectly in your mother tongue. The version of you that could make a joke and everyone would laugh. The version of you that could argue passionately and everyone would understand. The version of you that did not have to stop and search for the right word. Learning a new language is one of the loneliest experiences a person can have. Let me say that again because it is important. Learning a new language is one of the loneliest experiences a person can have. You are not just learning grammar and vocabulary. You are rebuilding your identity from scratch. You are starting over in a way. The confident person you were in your first language becomes a fumbling, hesitant beginner in a new one. And that is terrifying and isolating and exhausting. And it takes a kind of courage that most people who have never done it cannot even imagine. But here is what I want you to understand. The loneliness you feel as a language learner is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are growing. Growth always feels uncomfortable. Growth always feels like being in a space that does not quite fit yet, like wearing shoes that are one size too big. You keep tripping. You keep adjusting. But slowly, step by step, you grow into those shoes. And one day, they fit perfectly. And you forget that they ever felt too large. Think about a seed. A seed does not sprout immediately. A seed sits in the dark, in the cold, in the wet soil, completely alone for a long time. Nothing seems to be happening. From the outside, there is no visible change. But inside that seed, enormous things are happening. The seed is breaking open. The seed is sending out its first tiny root. The seed is reaching downward before it can reach upward. And then one day, something green appears. Something fragile and new pushes through the soil and reaches toward the light. That process required the darkness. The growth could not have happened without the solitude, without the time alone in the cold ground. You are that seed right now. I know it does not feel like growth. I know it feels like nothing is happening. I know it feels like everyone else is already in the sunlight and you are still underground. But you are not stuck. You are preparing. You are building roots. Let me tell you about another person. Her name was Amara. She was from Nigeria. She moved to Norway when she was 31 years old. She had a master's degree. She was intelligent and funny and warm. But in Norway, she felt like a ghost. She walked to work in the gray morning light and she felt like nobody could see her. She spoke careful, correct English, but she was learning Norwegian too, and the combination of both languages sometimes made her feel like she was lost between two worlds. She said something once that I have never forgotten. She said, "I am fluent in both languages, but I have become a stranger in my own mind." A stranger in your own mind. Think about that. When you are learning a language, you are not just translating words. You are translating yourself. You are figuring out how to be you in a new code, a new system, a new set of sounds and rhythms and rules. And in that in-between space, it is easy to feel lost. It is easy to feel alone. It is easy to wonder if the real you, the full, complex, funny, brilliant, emotional you, will ever be able to come through. Amara made a decision. She decided to stop waiting to be fluent before she allowed herself to connect. She stopped thinking, when my Norwegian is good enough, I will make friends. When my accent is gone, I will speak up in meetings. When I stop making grammar mistakes, I will introduce myself to the neighbors. She stopped waiting for the future version of herself to start living. And she started living as the imperfect, still learning, in-progress version she already was. She joined a running club. She ran badly. She spoke badly. She laughed at herself, and then something happened. People laughed with her, not at her. People respected her because she showed up, because she was real, because she did not pretend to be finished when she was still in the middle. And slowly, the loneliness began to lift, not because she became fluent, but because she became brave. Courage is the antidote to loneliness, not perfection, not fluency, not a bigger apartment or a better job or more Instagram followers. Courage, the courage to show up as you are, the courage to say hello first, the courage to sit down at a table where you do not know anyone, the courage to say, I am still learning, please be patient with me, the courage to be seen before you are ready. I want to talk about the lies that loneliness tells you, because loneliness is a liar. Loneliness whispers things in your ear. It says, you are alone because you are not interesting enough. It says, nobody wants to talk to you because you are boring. It says, if people really knew you, they would not like you. It says, everyone else has friends and you do not because something is fundamentally wrong with you. These are lies. Every single one of them is a lie. but loneliness is very convincing. It speaks in a voice that sounds like your own voice, and that makes it very hard to argue with. Here is the truth. You are alone right now not because you are unworthy of connection. You are alone right now because connection takes time and effort and repetition. That is all. No more dramatic reason than that. Friendships do not appear. Friendships are built. They are built slowly, like a house built brick by brick. You do not build a house in a day. You do not build a friendship in a day either. Every conversation is a brick. Every shared laugh is a brick. Every moment of honesty is a brick. Every time you show up is a brick. And one day you look around and you realize you have built something solid, something real, something that can hold you. Think about water and rock. If you take a tiny drop of water and put it on a rock, nothing happens. The rock does not move. The rock does not change. One drop does nothing. But if water falls on the same rock in the same spot every single day for years, the rock changes. The water slowly, patiently, persistently wears through the rock. The hardest material on earth eventually surrenders to soft, patient, consistent water. Your loneliness is the rock. Your daily, consistent, small efforts at connection are the water. One conversation does nothing. But one conversation every day, every week, every month, for years, that changes everything. Now I want to say something about solitude, because solitude and loneliness are not the same thing. I need you to understand this difference. It is one of the most important distinctions you will ever learn. Loneliness is the pain of being alone without choosing it. Solitude is the peace of being alone because you chose it. Loneliness is emptiness. Solitude is fullness. Loneliness is the absence of connection. Solitude is a connection to yourself. Some of the greatest thinkers, artists, writers, and leaders in human history understood the power of solitude. The monk Thomas Merton went to live alone in a forest in Kentucky. He wrote some of the most beautiful and profound books of the 20th century. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote, "The only journey is the one within." The scientist Isaac Newton made some of his greatest discoveries during a plague year, when he was forced to stay home, alone, away from other people. Solitude was not his curse, it was his gift. But I am not telling you to become a monk. I am not telling you that loneliness is secretly beautiful and you should enjoy it. I am telling you something more practical. I am telling you that inside the experience of being alone, there are things you can find that you cannot find anywhere else. There is a version of yourself that only appears in the quiet. There are thoughts you will only think when nobody else is in the room. There is a strength that only develops when you have to rely entirely on yourself. There is a creativity that only emerges when you are bored and alone and have no distraction to run to. So while you are in the season of loneliness, and it is a season, not a permanent state, while you are in that season, use it, mine it, dig into it. What are you learning about yourself right now? What do you want that you have never had the quiet to hear before? What kind of person do you want to become? What kind of life do you actually want to build? These questions only get answered in the quiet. They only get answered when you are alone enough to hear yourself think. Let me tell you about Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist. He survived the Nazi concentration camps in World War II. He lost nearly everything. He lost his wife. He lost his manuscript. He lost his freedom. He was surrounded by suffering and death. And yet, even in that absolute darkness, he found something. He found that the one thing that cannot be taken from a person is the freedom to choose how you respond to what happens to you. He called this the last human freedom. You cannot always choose your circumstances, but you can always choose your response to your circumstances. You did not choose to feel lonely, but you can choose what you do with that loneliness. You can let it shrink you. You can let it make you smaller and quieter and more withdrawn, or you can let it teach you. You can let it open you. You can let it make you more compassionate toward every other human being who sits alone in their apartment on a Friday night, eating dinner in the silence, wondering if anyone would notice if they disappeared. Loneliness creates empathy. This is one of its greatest gifts, and it is almost never discussed. When you have known loneliness, real loneliness, you never look at a quiet person in the corner of a room the same way again. When you have been the new person, the outsider, the one who did not understand the joke, you never walk past that person without at least considering stopping. Loneliness grows your heart if you let it. It stretches your capacity for kindness. It makes you softer. It makes you more human. Think about the most compassionate people you have ever met. Think about the ones who seem to notice everyone. The ones who always check on the quiet person. The ones who remember how you take your coffee and ask about your sick mother and remember the name of your dog. Almost certainly, those people know loneliness personally. Almost certainly, they have sat in the dark themselves. That experience did not make them bitter. It made them better. They chose better over bitter. I want to tell you about the English language itself, because you are learning English, and English is connected to this topic in a very specific way. English is a language that came from loneliness, in a sense. English is a mongrel language. It has no pure origin. It borrowed from Latin. It borrowed from French. It borrowed from Norse and German and Greek and dozens of other languages. English was built by outsiders. English was built by people who crossed borders, who arrived in new places, who mixed with people different from themselves. Every time a new word was borrowed, a connection was made. Every time a new sound was absorbed, a bridge was built. English grew rich because of its openness to what was foreign and strange. You are doing the same thing. You are building a bridge. You are absorbing something foreign and making it part of yourself. And just like English became richer for every word it borrowed, you become richer for every new way of thinking that the English language gives you. You are not losing yourself by learning English. You are adding to yourself. You are becoming larger, more complex, more capable of understanding more kinds of people in more kinds of places. Now let me speak directly to your fear, because you have a fear. I know you have a fear. The fear sounds like this. What if I do all of this hard, painful, lonely work and I still end up alone? What if I learn the language perfectly and I still do not belong? What if I try and fail? What if I reach out and nobody reaches back? That fear is real. It deserves to be taken seriously. I'm not going to tell you that reaching out always works. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes you try, and it does not go the way you hoped. Sometimes you are brave and it still hurts. But here is what I know. Every time you reach out, even if it does not work, you become more capable of reaching out again. Every time you try, even if you fail, you become someone who tries. And people who keep trying are fundamentally different from people who stop. People who keep trying change their lives. People who stop trying live the same day, over and over again, for the rest of their lives. Think about a baby learning to walk. A baby falls down approximately 2,000 times before they can walk steadily. 2,000 times, 2,000 falls, 2,000 moments of failure. And the baby does not interpret any of those falls as evidence that walking is impossible. The baby does not decide after the 400th fall, I am clearly not a walking person. This is not for me. The baby falls and looks surprised. The baby falls and cries sometimes. And then the baby tries again. You are that baby. You are learning to walk in a new language, in a new culture, toward new people. You will fall. You will look surprised. You will cry sometimes. Try again. Let me tell you about loneliness in a very specific situation. Let me tell you about the loneliness of the English classroom. Maybe you know this loneliness very well. You sit in class, or you sit in front of your computer screen and you listen to English being spoken. And sometimes you understand perfectly, and sometimes you understand nothing at all. And in that moment of not understanding, a particular kind of loneliness arrives. It is the loneliness of the gap between who you are and who you can express yourself to be. You have thoughts, brilliant thoughts, complex thoughts, funny thoughts, deep thoughts. But the words in English are not there yet. So you stay quiet. So the brilliant thought stays inside, and nobody hears it, and you feel like a ghost again. I want to talk to that ghost. I want to talk directly to the you that is sitting quietly in the back of the room with a thought you cannot express. Your thought is still valuable. Even inside your head, it matters. Even in your own language, it counts. The fact that you cannot express it perfectly in English today does not make it less true or less important. Your silence is not stupidity. Your accent is not an apology. Your grammar mistakes are not failures. They are evidence. They are evidence that you are doing something extremely hard and not giving up. There was a man named Albert Einstein. You know this name. He was the greatest physicist of the 20th century. He developed the theory of relativity. He changed how humans understand space and time. He spoke German as his first language. When he moved to the United States, his English was imperfect. He made grammar mistakes. He had a heavy accent. And yet, nobody who ever sat across from Albert Einstein thought he was unintelligent because of his accent. The ideas spoke for themselves. Your ideas speak for themselves too. Give them time to find their English words. They will get there. Now I want to talk about what you can do. Because a speech that only describes the problem without offering something practical is just a complaint. And you do not need more complaints. You need tools. So here are real, practical things that will help you move through loneliness and toward connection. The first thing is this: choose one person, not 10 people, not a whole social circle. One person. Look around your life right now. There is one person who is slightly more accessible than the rest. Maybe it is a coworker you have smiled at but never spoken to properly. Maybe it is a neighbor you have passed in the hallway. Maybe it is someone in your English class who always sits in the same seat as you. Choose one person and say one true thing to them. Not a polite thing, not the weather. One true thing. I find this lesson difficult. I miss my family sometimes. I am trying to make friends and it is harder than I expected. One true thing opens a door. Small talk locks the door. Truth opens it. The second thing is this: go to the same place at the same time regularly. This sounds too simple, I know, but it is backed by research and by centuries of human experience. We become comfortable with the familiar. We become open to the people we see repeatedly in the same context. Go to the same coffee shop every Saturday morning. Go to the same park for a walk every evening. Go to the same library every Tuesday. Go to the same gym class every week. At first, nobody will speak to you. Then someone will nod. Then someone will say good morning. Then someone will ask your name. These things happen slowly, but they happen. Consistency is the seed of community. The third thing is this: be curious about other people instead of worrying about yourself. When you are lonely, you spend a lot of time inside your own head. You are thinking, do they like me? Did I say the wrong thing? Do I look strange? Is my English okay? Are they judging me? All of this internal noise makes it impossible to actually be present with another person. So switch your attention. Get genuinely curious about the person in front of you. Ask them a question and really listen to the answer. Not while planning what you will say next. Really listen. People can feel when you are genuinely curious about them. It is one of the most powerful forms of human connection that exists, and it costs nothing. The fourth thing is this: do something for someone else. When you are lonely, your world gets very small. It contracts around you. Everything becomes about your pain, your isolation, your need. This is natural, but it traps you. The way to make your world larger again is to focus outward. Volunteer, help a stranger, cook food for a neighbor, send an encouraging message to someone who is struggling. When you give to someone else, two things happen. First, you feel useful. And feeling useful is one of the most powerful antidotes to loneliness that exists. Second, you create a connection, even a small one, even a brief one. Connection is connection. It does not need to be deep to matter. The fifth thing is this: be patient with the timeline. Belonging takes time. Real belonging, the kind where you feel genuinely at home with people, genuinely known, genuinely loved, that takes years. Not weeks, not months, years. This is not pessimism. This is honesty, and honesty serves you better than false hope. If you expect to belong after 1 week in a new place, you will feel like a failure when you do not. But if you understand that belonging is built slowly, over time, through hundreds of small interactions, then you can relax into the process. You can trust the process. You can measure progress in tiny steps instead of giant leaps. Every conversation is a step. Every honest exchange is a step. Every moment of shared laughter is a step. Let me tell you what belonging actually is, because I think we often misunderstand it. Belonging is not being liked by everyone. Belonging is not being popular. Belonging is not having a full calendar and 100 friends and invitations every weekend. Belonging is having one person who would notice if you did not show up. Belonging is having one conversation where you did not have to perform. Belonging is having one place where you can sit in silence with another person and not feel the need to fill every moment with words. Belonging is much smaller and much more available than you think it is. You may be closer to it than you realize. I want to come back to Hiroshi now. Remember Hiroshi from the beginning? The man in Canada, eating dinner alone, feeling the loneliness in his body. I want to tell you what happened to him. Not immediately. Not dramatically. There was no single moment where everything changed. But over time, over months of patience and small efforts and consistency, things began to shift. He joined a Japanese cultural club. He started going to an English conversation group at the library. He offered to help his neighbor carry groceries one rainy evening. He invited a coworker for coffee, and the coworker said yes. one brick at a time, one conversation at a time, one small act of courage at a time. 3 years later, Hiroshi sent a message to the friend who had told me his story. He said, "I have people now. It took a long time. It was harder than anything I have ever done. But I have people. I have people. 5 of the most beautiful words in the English language. I have people. Not I have a perfect life. Not I am never lonely anymore. I have people." Even now, Hiroshi has days when he feels lonely. Even now, there are mornings when the silence is heavy. But the loneliness does not own him anymore. He knows it will pass. He knows the people are there. He knows he is not invisible. You will get there too. I want you to hold that sentence. You will get there too. Not because I am saying comforting things, but because humans are built for connection. It is biological. It is in our DNA. We evolved in groups. We survived because of community. The pull toward other people is hardwired into you. You cannot permanently resist it, and neither can the people around you. They are also pulled toward connection. They are also looking for real people and real conversations and real moments of honesty. You are not searching for a needle in a haystack. You are surrounded by people who want the same things you want. The only question is who will be brave enough to reach out first. Be the one who reaches out first. I know it is scary. I know rejection hurts. I know that when you reach out and someone does not reach back, that specific pain is one of the sharpest pains a person can feel. But the alternative, waiting for someone else to always go first, staying in the safe silence, choosing the loneliness you know over the uncertainty of trying, that alternative has a cost too. That cost is your life. That cost is years of living at the edge of connection instead of in the middle of it. That cost is too high. There is a lighthouse metaphor I want to leave you with. When ships sail at night in the dark, in dangerous waters, they look for the lighthouse. The lighthouse does not go out into the ocean to find the ships. The lighthouse stays in one place and shines its light, consistently, reliably, honestly, and the ships navigate toward it. You can be a lighthouse not by being perfect, not by having all the answers, but by being consistent, by showing up, by being honest. By shining whatever light you have, even when you are not sure anyone can see it. Other lonely people, other searching people, other people sailing in the dark, they are looking for a light. Yours might be exactly the one they need. You have something to offer. I need you to believe this. You are not empty. You are not hollow. You are not a person with nothing to give. You have the perspective of someone who has crossed a cultural border, someone who is actively building themselves in a second language, someone who knows what it is to struggle and continue anyway. That perspective is rare and it is precious. The people around you, the ones who grew up in this language, in this culture, who have never had to rebuild their identity from scratch, they do not have what you have. They have never had to be that brave. You have a kind of strength that is invisible to you because you are too close to it. But I can see it from here. I can see it in the fact that you are here, learning, trying, pushing through the discomfort of a language and a life that does not quite fit yet. Do not minimize that. Do not compare your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20. Do not look at the person who has been in this country for 15 years and feel ashamed that you are still struggling in your first or second year. You are at the beginning of something, and beginnings are always the hardest part. Beginnings are where the doubt is loudest, and the results are quietest, and the temptation to quit is strongest. And you are here. You are in the beginning, and you are still here. Every single person you admire for their confidence, their fluency, their social ease, every single one of them was once where you are. Every single person you look at and think, they have it together, they never feel lonely, they never struggle, they have a story you have not heard. A chapter of difficulty that came before the chapter you can see. The finished painting does not show you the weeks of frustration and wrong colors and started over canvases that came before it. But they were there. They are always there. I want to end with this. Loneliness is not the final word on your story. It is a chapter. It might be a long chapter. It might be a painful chapter. But it is not the last one. You are not defined by how isolated you feel right now. You are not defined by how imperfect your English is today. You are not defined by the friendships you have not yet made, or the conversations you have not yet had, or the belonging you have not yet found. You are defined by what you do in the hard seasons. You are defined by whether you let the darkness teach you or defeat you. You are defined by whether you keep reaching, keep trying, keep showing up. So show up. Show up for your English lessons even when you feel stupid. Show up for the conversation even when you are afraid of making mistakes. Show up for yourself even when the silence is heavy and the loneliness is loud. Show up for the people around you, because some of them are lonely too, and they are waiting for someone exactly like you to be brave first. You are not invisible. You are not unlovable. You are not too foreign, too quiet, too imperfect, too late, too anything. You are exactly right for this moment. You are exactly right for this difficult, beautiful, necessary, transforming season of your life. And one day, you will look back on this season with gratitude, not because the pain was not real, but because of who it made you. Because of the roots it grew in you, deep and strong and invisible, roots that will hold you when the wind comes, roots that no storm can touch. You have everything you need to get through this. The roots are already growing. The light is already in you. Keep going.